Welcome back. This is part three. What we're going to do now is make a marking of where we're going to be cutting the display with the hobby knife. And to do that, we want to make sure that where we cut is going to be hidden by the masking. So that way, when I reassemble the watch, you don't see an obvious cut line between the bottom display and the top dials. Here, you want to keep it pretty. So ideally, what you would like to do is keep your cut line right in line with that label where it says counter or countdown timer. So that way, when I put the masking back on top of the clock, you don't see where I cut. So what I'd like to do here is I keep the watch unit for now completely assembled. I'm going to put the masking back on it. And it only goes in one position, and it kind of locks into the right position, okay? Then I'm going to take a Sharpie. I'm going to go to the side here while holding that plate in place. And I'm going to basically, in my mind, draw a line through here and find out where that line would be on the watch unit and make a mark with a Sharpie. So if I was to draw a line like this, it would probably be right here. And then I can actually extend that line into the plastic like that. Okay, so we've made a little mark right there. And then, of course, on the opposite side, too, we'll flip this over. Trace a line here. Okay, so it'd probably be right there. Okay, so what I've done now is I've made two marks. I've made a mark here in Sharpie, and then a mark here. And then that's going to be our cut line, okay? And then to double check that, what I'll do is I'll just re-put the plate on. Check my mark. Okay, and actually this one looks a little bit too high. So let's redo that one. And that one looks pretty good there. Okay, that looks great. All right, then the next thing I'm gonna do is grab a piece of tape here. I'm going to use this tape as a pretend line to connect those two Sharpie points that I just drew together. So one there and one there. That looks good. Okay, I'm going to lightly keep that on. I'm going to reposition the masking back on. And what I'm checking for is to make sure that the border of this tape is being hidden by that line we were talking about earlier. Okay, so you can see there that if I were to cut around that tape, it would be perfect. And if anything, you want to make a mistake more in this direction, meaning you don't cut enough off than cutting too much, and now the whole thing is a negative display. Okay, so right now that looks pretty good. Yeah, that's being hidden pretty well. Yep, that looks great. So I'm going to pause the video here and I'll be right back. All right, so now that we know that our two Sharpie marks are good, I'm going to redraw them again, a little bit darker. Okay, I'm going to keep that tape there, and then I'm going to grab a straight edge. So a few tools here I did not mention at the beginning: yellow tape and Sharpie, and then a straight edge here, which is actually just my stainless steel wallet comb. Okay, and I'm going to put the comb on the other side so I don't scratch the screen. Line it up with the two Sharpie marks, and then trace a line between the two of them. And a fine tip Sharpie is really what you want to be using for this job. Okay. So I think that should have done it already. Perfect. So now let's go ahead and remove our tape and let's see what we have here. All right, so we've got our cut line now. So we can put that tape to the side. And then let's go ahead and move into the actual cutting. So when you're cutting, what I like to do is zoom out here. I like to keep, if you can see that over here, I like to keep all my sharps on one side of the table. So I've got my pen and my scalpel here, and then I keep my other tools here, you know, my screwdriver, my Q-tips, all of that stuff on the other side. So that way, you know, when you're in the process of working, in your mind you already know sharps are to the left. You don't you're conscious when you're reaching for an instrument. So to make our cut now, I'm going to get the piece of tape again. I wouldn't have taken this off, but I just wanted to show you the line that we made. We're going to put the tape back where we just were, right on that line. And then we're going to grab our straight edge here. And really the tape is there just to protect the comb, because the comb is metal, from scratching the main display. And then we'll grab our scalpel. And what you're aiming for here is really just a nice gradual cut. You don't want to press too hard and try to do everything in one sitting. You just want to apply nice, even pressure from top to bottom. Okay. And usually the best way I do that is once I put my knife down and I figured in my mind this is the pressure that I want, I keep that there and I just drag my whole hand. Instead of going like this with wrist action, I drag my whole hand, so that way I'm keeping that same depth each time, and then I press a little bit further on the next pass. Now the question is, how far do you want to cut down in the display? And this is kind of hard to explain. The anatomy of the display is, think about it like a hamburger. You know, in a hamburger, you're going to have the patty in the middle, and then you have buns on each side. The top right now is going to be considered one part of that bun, right? And that's going to be the polarized filter that comes from the factory. Beneath that is the patty, and that's the glass. That's the main display. And then beneath that is going to be another filter. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but that's the other part of the bun. So you don't want to cut too deep that you start hitting the patty. You want to just cut enough that you're just cutting the top portion of that bun. So it's kind of hard to explain. Granted, the first time I've done this, I damaged the display a little bit with a completely different watch. So it is a little bit of trial and error. But in your mind, just think that it's really not that far that you're going to be going down. I guess the width of this pin is probably the best that I could describe it. Or actually, this right here. This is a polarized filter removed from a different watch. This is about how much you want to cut down, or how thick you want to cut down. And I removed this off of a AE 1300 and cleaned it up a bit. All right, so let's go ahead and take our knife here. Zoom in a little bit. And let's make some nice, even cuts right on that line. Okay, I've done about 6 in one direction. I'm going to go ahead and invert. Okay, so that's about another 6 that we've done in that direction as well. Okay, so that's now looking at our main display, and I'm not going to cut any further beyond that. I'm not looking to remove the polarized filter now because it's actually glued onto the display. So now that I have, what I've created is essentially a score line. The next step we're going to be doing is disassembling the whole watch unit down to just the display. And then we're going to be spraying some of the goof off to loosen the glue. Essentially, you have that bun on the top, and then you have the patty, right? The patty is the display, the bun is the polarized filter from the factory. And connecting the two together is really sticky glue. And so what you need to do is really saturate the whole display in goof off, allow that glue to loosen, and then what you're going to be doing is peeling off the bun or the polarized display from the patty or the main display. Okay, so I'll do that in the next video for you.